broadcast network, Afterbuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. Afterbuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Haqqani. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Homeland After Show here on Afterbuzz. Thaddeus Mass, he's usually the host here, but he's not. He missed a really good episode this week.
He did.
Jeez.
He totally forgot Homeland was returning today. Honestly, he did.
No, he didn't forget.
Oh, he told us.
He did, yeah, he flat out admitted.
I'm trying to cover him.
So anyway, I'm going to give him hell because he said it was returning in 2 weeks, and then he's like, oh, I forgot. Anyway, this is Nando Velasquez, and across from me, the two voices that you hear are the lovely Lexie Hammesfahr.
Hey guys, I'm Lexie.
And Mr. Danny Hoyt.
Hey ladies, this is Thaddeus, Club Thaddeus. You can follow me at GQ. I'm just kidding. This is Danny Hoyt. It's good to be back. I'm sorry I missed you guys.
Yeah, I know. You missed a really awesome... you missed an awesome episode last time,
Well, I've been watching. Don't get me wrong. It's the first
so.
thing I do either Sunday night or when I fly back to LA Monday morning with my coffee, I'm watching.
Oh, well, good. Well, I was even saying in the last episode that the way it ended, it was such a 24 type ending.
Which takes us back to our roots.
Yeah, which takes us, well, not our roots, but like just this past summer.
Our friendship roots.
Our friendship roots.
We first met on the
24
set
to
of
Live
Home.
Another Day.
We were both on 24, season 9. Just kidding.
Day 9.
Day 9. Not on the season. We were on the after show.
On the after show.
But we were both in the season. What are we talking about right now?
We're talking about Homeland. And this was an awesome, awesome episode. I mean, we waited 2 weeks to find out the fate of so many people, to find out the fate of everyone in the caravan, including Saul, Carrie, and John Redmond, to find out what the hell Haqqani's plan, what he was after at the embassy, him breaking in, really, really tension. So let's get into this. So much has happened. First of all, we had a couple of notable deaths. We'll get into them as they go along. I mean, the first one's shots that we see pretty much is Carrie and Saul in the caravan. They got
who are alive.
Who were alive. I was assuming they'd both be. Someone told me they thought Saul was dead, and I was like, no way would Saul be dead. So I'm glad to see both of them alive, bloodied up, but alive. But one person that did not make it, John Redmond.
Yeah.
Jeez.
He's gone.
Straight up glass to the throat, too.
Yeah. There was somebody on YouTube who kept saying they thought Redmond was in on whatever Haqqani plan was, and I was like, no way.
No way.
And now, absolutely no way.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no way he'd be killed off like that. So, R.I.P. to John Redmond. That was a little shocking. So let's talk about Haqqani's plan. So he's got the distraction, which was bombing the caravan that had Saul and Carrie, and I'm sure Tasneem was hoping Lockhart was in that group too, but he wasn't. And as they're trying to get things going, Martha's trying to alert everybody in the embassy that what Haqqani's plan was to get the Marines out so that Haqqani could sneak in through the tunnel. So just as she's doing that and the Marines are being notified, the Taliban have snipers.
But the thing that got me was it took her husband that long to realize to put the pieces together.
I don't think he's that intelligent, though.
Well, I mean, forget putting the pieces together. He knew that lives... I mean, everybody knew that lives would probably be at stake.
Was at risk,
yeah.
And he was just holding out because he's a jerk. Was it
a pride
wimp.
thing?
I think it's a... Well, he knew that obviously anything that he said that incriminated him would automatically put him as a traitor. So for some reason, he was holding against some kind of weird false belief that he could get out of this by just denying it until he realized, and the Marines were gone, that holy crap, I might not be able to get out of this alive anyway.
Yep.
And that's when he finally told Martha. But, it was self-preservation more than anything. Just the thought of the Taliban coming in and killing everybody, including him.
What surprised me a little bit is that in that situation, those cars are bombed and Marines are sent, that obviously there's an elevated threat level at this moment.
Yeah.
That almost all of them went. That more didn't stay back to protect the embassy. Because if there's a threat somewhere, there's a threat everywhere.
Well,
when you're
first
over
of
there.
all, let's just call it out. Lockhart was the one that decided to send all the Marines out.
However, though, I still feel like procedure would require,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, that
Yeah.
more would stay back. I was a little surprised by that,
Well,
that there wasn't more of a lockdown situation
No,
at
no,
the embassy.
That's my point. My point was there possibly was procedure that they would have sent a certain amount of Marines, but Lockhart made a gut decision and sent like all the Marines out. If I remember correctly, he pretty much said, send all of them out.
Do you think, yeah,
He
I'm
did,
gonna ask
yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
Do you think we end up seeing him die because of all this? I feel like there's,
Lockhart?
yeah, there might be a little like people want to see justice. Do you think when they wrote this, they knew people were going to be pissed and kind of want to see maybe not die, but something happen to Lockhart? Or do you feel for him?
Well, I'll tell you that I don't feel for him.
I don't either.
I haven't.
either.
For some
Cheers.
reason, I've been the one that's been against Lockhart for most of this season, and I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
some people even online have been like, well, I agree with, like that whole
See,
thing.
I wasn't sure, and I think you saw this coming.
Yeah, he's just inept. He's just incredibly inept. And the worst scene for me was in the aftermath, which we'll get to, when you see Martha and Lockhart in the ambassador's office, and he's just hanging back on the couch.
You take the phone call, yeah.
Yeah, you take the phone call.
That was such a wimp move.
Yeah, it was such a wimp move. But anyway, so really Lockhart, I mean, look, not to say that Haqqani still wouldn't have been able to implement this plan if Lockhart didn't make the order. There still would have been more Marines left behind, and they probably would have been surprised.
Yeah.
But Lockhart definitely put them more in a hole by sending just about everybody out, except for, what was it? They said 2 Marines inside the embassy and a couple at the gate. That's
Right.
all they had left. So anyway, and Haqqani was prepared. They had the site ready for where they had the RPG. They had snipers ready to keep the Marines at bay.
They had the embassy mapped out.
They had the embassy mapped out. They had all the information. When Carrie called, Carrie
It was a
decided
pretty
to call.
well-planned attack.
It was really, really well planned. Well, Carrie, they probably didn't count on Carrie and Saul being alive, and Carrie probably having a direct line to Asar Khan. So here she is calling her contact in the ISI.
And I was a little pissed at him for this moment. Them being in the car, and
Yeah.
I'm a little pissed that he didn't stand up to
Tasneem.
Tasneem. I was going to say Nassim for some reason. Dyslexic with their name today. But they didn't stand up to Tasneem when she was like, wait 10 minutes. And I wish he would have just been like, hell no, I'm calling right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
I
think
agree. It was
that
like
a
she was
power
calling the
battle.
shots.
It was, and that's what makes me curious. Because
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's the one wearing the uniform, and I thought he was the one with the title, but it just
Right.
seemed like she has control, or
Like she had him by the balls.
But what's the worst that she could have done to him in that car in that scene? I feel like he could have said something like, "No, I'm going to call them now." What's she
Oh,
gonna
can
do?
you imagine if they would have brought, like, he would have went to
brawl?
call and she grabs his arm and he has to, like, knock her out and make a phone. Like, I would have loved to see a situation.
That would have been great.
I think it's a really interesting relationship that he has with like Tasneem and other members of the ISI, because even though he has this position that seems to be a powerful position, he can't really reveal Tasneem to Carrie, before, about being the mole, being the contact for Dennis, and here's Tasneem giving him pretty much, I wouldn't say a direct order. She's hinting to him not to call in 10 minutes, and he's following her order.
I wouldn't even say that's a hint. That's a straight up don't do it. Wait, like
Well,
she voiced her opinion and he followed suit.
And
So
I
easily.
I feel like we've been having this discussion the entire season about the 2 factions of the ISI, and
Yeah.
this episode it made it so clear that there are indeed 2 true factions,
Yeah.
because Tasneem revealed herself that she's on the other side.
And they have to complement each other. In other words, it seems like they both have to work with the other. Yeah, it's just an interesting relationship.
I want to know who really
would
runs
say.
who, and did we get an insight into who really runs who? Which one really calls the shots?
Yeah.
Tasneem's side, the bad side.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess by holding out on the Pakistani troops for 10 minutes, Asar is still following orders for the U.S. technically, but he's also respecting the other side of the ISI.
But he knows he just directly put Carrie and Saul and whoever
In
else is still
danger.
alive, their lives in danger.
He did,
and at the embassy.
with the fake truth, or the lie that, oh well, we tried to send him as quickly as we could, but we couldn't, with that little diplomatic lie.
But I'm surprised that didn't cause more of an issue, because the 10 minutes was only to show us their side of things. It didn't cause any more drama on the U.S. side. I don't think we saw anybody die after that. We just saw more shots ring out.
I think that maybe if our Marines had been relieved by the Pakistani backup, then they would have gotten back to the embassy.
I don't know.
Possibly in time.
Yeah.
I don't know how many Marines were killed before or after Carrie made that call.
There
but
were 6 before the call, because remember the guy said how many now?
There was
goes,
6?
6 bodies, and then he was shot. He goes, how many casualties? And he's like 5.
Yeah,
that's
because
6, and then he was shot.
Because during that bird's eye view, I was trying to count all the bodies, and there were about 7 dead. So maybe you're right about that. But it still did cause casualties, because the Marines couldn't get to the embassy in time, and maybe they could have stopped what happened in the embassy. So, because
Yeah.
don't forget, 36 people total died. I'm guessing they're including the Marines from the car site.
I don't think they would have been able to stop Haqqani getting to the operations room.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe they could have at least slowed down or
Because of the
completely
vault-
thwarted.
the
Yeah,
vault
the vault
situation?
situation.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they could have definitely helped out and stopped Haqqani from even getting the files.
And here's another thing: we have these secret tunnels underneath an embassy.
Yeah.
There's got to be more security than a lock on a gate that can be cut / and or picked by someone. I'm sorry, but like you have this secret tunnel. There's got to be infrared security. There's got to be something,
yeah.
some higher level, a camera, someone on tunnel duty that's watching this thing. That surprised me a little bit.
Well, here's the thing. Sandy Bachman was the one who used that tunnel originally.
Right.
And I mean, it was even said later on in the episode when it came to that hard drive that Sandy didn't trust anybody, that he
Yeah.
did a lot of stuff on his own on the sly. So very few people apparently knew about that tunnel. And unfortunately, Dennis Boyd was one of them. And he's the one who told Tasneem because of his relationship with Sandy.
So how does he know about it and his wife not know about it?
Well, that's a good question about his wife not. Well, because Sandy probably didn't trust the ambassador either. But for some reason, Dennis was just slimy enough and just like so wimpy enough that I guess Sandy at the time didn't think. That would be the only thing I could think of. That somehow either Dennis was snooping around or somehow Sandy trusted Dennis.
So early question for you guys.
Yeah.
Do you think, since Dennis is alive, I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but since we're talking about him, since they show him alive at the end of the episode, that we see something redeeming, that he does something at some point to try and make a big effort to gain back?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
So you think he's treason, he's done, he's going to jail?
Yeah. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. But I definitely think there's no redeeming qualities of this guy. No.
Not that I think-
He couldn't even do like what he said he was going to do at the end of the episode, which was kill himself.
So
Would you be able to go through with that though?
I wouldn't.
I think that's a
That's such a heavy question.
yeah.
I probably
mean,
wouldn't, but at the same time, that was even a wimp out move on his. I mean, look, as far as I'm concerned, he was damned if he did, damned if he didn't.
Damned if I do.
Because
damned if
well,
I
he
don't.
is because him.
song.
We'll talk. I want to definitely. Well, let's get to that scene then. Let's jump a little bit to that scene
it.
because let's talk about this. Because first of all, what really pissed me off for some reason, and this really pissed me off, when Martha went to the vault, she grabbed Dennis. It's like no,
Yeah.
leave him
Yeah.
in
No,
freaking
come stay
prison.
safe, yeah.
Yeah, come stay safe with me.
Honest to
seeing
God,
him in the vault with everybody else pissed me off.
He probably would have been safer if he would have stayed in that jail cell. They would have never went and searched the jail. They're not going to go search for a prisoner.
They're
What's
not
that-
going to
Yeah.
kill a prisoner. They're going to
Yeah.
think he's probably on their side.
He
on the
probably
side.
would have been safer. I mean, granted, nothing happened to him either way, but he probably would have been safer in that jail cell.
Yeah, but just seeing him get the same protection that Lockhart gets,
Ooh,
that
girl.
Martha gets, that all these
Yeah.
extra officials that we have no idea who they are get, it just irked the crap out of me. So anyway, so Martha kind of saves him in there. And then, I mean, let's talk about it because I think he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. There's this amazing scene, and shout out to both actors in this scene. I thought it was a really awesome scene when Martha went down there because Dennis called him over. It was urgent, and he told her pretty much for her to give him a belt.
That was a pretty intense, emotionally intense scene to feel the gravity of a marriage that's already been on the rocks, that's been through what it's been up to that point, and then him asking that and seeing her process. I think he had a point. He had a valid point, like, let me do this. But what wife, what husband, in any situation, whether it's reversed or not, could actually go through with that? That's such a heavy thing to feel.
But
And when
this
she
is her
reaches-
career.
When I felt it, though, was when she reached for her belt. When she reached and pulled up her shirt, and that shot of where her hands are on her belt buckle.
But then not even that. She
Oh
said,
my
"I
gosh.
can't." Not with my belt. That
Yeah,
was
and
like
there-
so
Right, yeah.
awesome.
There was a pause too. Even in the captions, there was a "I can't." ... And then the next one came up and said, "Not with my own
Yeah.
belt." It was like, oh my gosh, it was like delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, I obviously Dennis is so about self-preservation, and over here he's probably just scared of the unknown of what's going to happen to him as a traitor. He just wants to kill himself rather than face
Do you think
repercussions.
that was more of it, or was more of it that he really did think that was the only redeeming thing he could do is
No.
preserve her
No,
career and his family?
not at
I
all.
don't. I think that was how he framed it and pushed it towards.
That's what he wanted Martha to
Yeah.
believe. That's what he wanted Martha
But
to
I
believe.
think he just didn't want to go sit in a Supermax prison.
He's the most selfish character on this show. Every
Yeah.
single move that he does is selfish. Everything would have been averted last week if he just gave up the information. But no, he was selfish. And
They
here
cast
he is.
the right guy. Looking at his face
Mark
even makes
Moses.
me like.
Oh, he's an awesome actor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even that whole scene, it was just about self-preservation. But of course, I wrote down every single thing he threw at Martha to say to convince her.
Read him off.
Oh, it could spare you a lot of heartache. There's no trial, no public hearing. This might open a path to saving your career.
That was the one.
Everyone at the State Department knows how valuable you are. It's the one good thing that I can do now. Liar. My life's ruined. Yours doesn't have to be. Like
Okay,
7
so-
different things. Says all these things just to convince her.
Of all those things, the one that I think, if I'm Martha,
Yeah.
the one that trips me, the one that gets me to reach for my belt and then toss him his, is the one that this could open a path to your career. And for that reason alone, I think she was a little selfish too. So I'm just going to put that
No,
out there.
Yeah.
well, it's a very complex scene, I think. I agree.
There's so many levels to it. And I'm not faulting her for this.
No.
But that's when the gravity of the moment really hit me, when he was like, look, this could open another path. And I think he was being manipulative to get what he wanted, which was a belt so he could kill himself.
Yeah.
Because he was a little bit of a pussy. But
A little bit.
but that moment of when he says that, I think is the notch, if I had to pick one button that he pushed that made her do it, was that button. It could open another path and save your career.
Well,
Absolutely.
it was definitely a little bit selfish, but I think obviously she, at that moment, she's
Oh, yeah.
realizing this is the man who ruined my career. And
Yeah.
here, and she probably wants him dead because
It's the best case scenario for this situation.
She wants him dead in general, probably after this whole thing, because she doesn't know how to face him. And here he is saying, this is perfect for both of us.
I think the comment that sealed the deal, at least if I was in her situation, was when he was like, we'll be able to sweep the majority of this under the rug.
Yeah.
Under the rug.
Because they can rewrite yesterday's weather.
That
I
was a
like,
good line.
I know.
That was a good line.
These are the people that can rewrite yesterday's weather. I was like, oh, that's well said.
Well, here she goes. So she ends up grabbing the belt. I'm surprised there was no video camera there. Maybe she had her back turned to it, but I would have thought they would have had a
Right?
video camera there
Yeah.
to show in case she gives him the belt. They would have seen that she's assisting in his suicide. But I thought it was a great scene. She throws the belt on the floor and she leaves without telling him goodbye. He's not even worth a goodbye at this point. Like, the last thing, if he's going to kill himself, he shouldn't be killing himself thinking that she loves him or she's going to give him some big moment.
Bye, baby.
You're
I love you.
You're living such a
miss you.
hero's death by killing yourself for me. No, get
I'll
the
miss
hell out of
you.
here. Here's
Let's
the
take
belt.
a Snapchat
Right.
picture before I go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick the belt up from the floor because that's where you belong anyway. And then
Scum.
when you look up, I'm gone.
See, now when she was grabbing it, here are the thoughts that are going through my head.
Yeah.
Fingerprints on the locker, fingerprints on the belt buckle. Like, those are the thoughts that are going through my head. Like, if you're going to protect yourself, grab the leather, wipe it off with your elbow.
But at the
this
same-
is what I do when I go through these things. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, he's a traitor, and I wonder if people would even
Yeah.
completely fault her for having him kill himself.
Let me ask another question. Why do you need a belt? Why can't he take off his long sleeve shirt and use the sleeve? I'm going through these things. I'm like, why does it have to be the belt? Or is it just for us as a viewer to realize?
I've
I
never
think
tried
it's
to
'cause
kill
I
myself.
feel like a
so I
belt
don't
is.
know.
Neither, but I'm thinking through, like, he's got a long sleeve shirt on with a sleeve that I feel like that could be just as
Maybe
handy.
because the shirt and the stitching could rip.
Yeah, it's
With
a
the weight?
leather belt. It's definitely going to be tighter.
Plus, a belt is, I feel like it's more symbolic of
Yeah.
hanging attempts.
Yeah, I would
Especially
think-
with tragic news in the last 6 months and that you being used. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think it definitely is. It was overall a big scene.
Yeah.
But we see this one shot of Martha afterwards, like sitting in her office, all quiet. See a little photo on her desk of Dennis, and then she just assumes he's dead. And then the kicker is he couldn't even do it. He couldn't even pull the trigger on himself.
I thought she had when I was watching her face, it almost looked like she was thinking. Like, not like she was reminiscing. It almost looked to me like she was thinking, and that there was one question that she maybe realized that she should have asked him that would have unlocked some piece of this puzzle. And so I thought we were going to see her kind of look up and have this realization moment and get up and run down there, and that's how we were going to see that he was dead. And she didn't get to ask him whatever question it was.
I kind of had a feeling he wasn't going to be able to go through with
Oh,
it.
I
Really?
knew. I
Yeah.
actually knew it. I'm sorry. I knew he wasn't going to do it because he's such a pussy.
He doesn't have the guts.
He doesn't have the guts. Exactly. He has no. It's all self-preservation. And you know what? It might have been kind of a noble thought, but obviously he was selfish because he didn't want to face a trial. He didn't want to face being a traitor.
Pussy,
but then in the end,
pussy,
in the heat of the moment, he wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
I knew it. It was just all. And I think when she goes to the front of the caravan to look at him, pretty much with those eyes, it's pretty much saying, like you can't even, There was a line that was said a couple of weeks ago. I'm paraphrasing it because I don't have it written down, but I thought it was really, really awesome. That I think I can't remember which character said it, but it was like every every man doesn't want a woman to be crazy, or is afraid of a woman being crazy, and every woman's afraid her man is a loser. And I think
that was when he was asleep on the couch.
Yeah, I think so. Right.
That's right.
That was
When he
such
was
an
drunk.
awesome line, and it's official. I think Dennis Boyd is a loser. He's a loser. He can't even kill himself. So that's just. No redeeming qualities in this
Out
man.
of context, that's like the harshest sentence you
Yeah.
can possibly say about a man.
But it is.
No, I
but
know.
exactly. I guess
Yeah.
that line was such a perfect line. Every woman is afraid of, fears that his man is a loser, and every man fears that his woman might be crazy. So anyway, so there's the Dennis Martha saga. So Dennis is going back home. We might never see him again, and
we may never.
We may never have resolution if you really want him to die, or anything that you feel that you want, or whether it's a redeeming quality or him to finally to get his complete, complete due process justice, which we're gonna have to possibly assume that he gets it, as going back as a traitor, and Martha's going back too. Don't know if we'll see her again. Maybe we will. In a scene from Washington, we might see Lockhart. Let's talk about the other wimp in this episode. In my opinion, I hate to call him. But let's get into the vault because that was such a compelling scene, and we get to talk about a lot that happened there. We see the soldiers, pretty much go into the ops room and just wreak havoc right after Lockhart gets this hard drive, which ends up being the exact thing that Haqqani's going in there.
It's interesting to me too that when they went in there, they just passed over everything else, all the documents, all the data, all the screens, all the computers up that are logged out, everything. Nothing had been burned yet, nothing had been crashed yet.
Yeah,
and the only thing they were after was that one list.
Like Quinn said before, when he was in the hallway by the vault, this is a tactical strike. They obviously have a reason to be there. That's their mission. That's their motive. And they knew exactly where to go. And luckily, at that moment, Lockhart was able to get his hands on the hard drive. They were able to get their hands on it right beforehand and run over to the vault.
Yeah.
Haqqani's just causing havoc, killing people, and we get to see Farah, who we haven't seen in a while. This was supposed to be her big episode, her big return. I know a lot of people were looking forward to seeing Farah back. Even the actress Nazanin was like saying, "Hey, I'm coming back December 7th," but we had no idea in what capacity Farah was coming back. So, very intense moment with Haqqani picking Farah up in the ops room and trying to get her to reveal where the list is, and talking to her as a Muslim, and her not giving an inch, and telling Haqqani about her family, knowing that she works for an organization that kills Muslims, as Haqqani puts it.
Yeah.
And we know about her relationship with her dad, because her dad was never really, when we saw her dad at the end of last season, he wasn't pretty happy when he found out that she was working for the U.S. government.
Right.
He thought she was working for a bank. So was a little extra, even though Haqqani probably didn't realize it, that was actually probably a little extra poke at Farah. So unfortunately, there is one guy who decides to tell them where the vault is, or show them where the vault is, and we see this amazing, tense scene go down. All the prisoners lined up, execution style. Haqqani just says, "Open the door," and Martha, of course, says no, or doesn't say anything, and they start just shooting people.
Yeah. They gave themselves away with the groan on the first guy being shot in the back of the head. I would audibly make a noise too. I'd freak out,
too.
even if I was trying to be quiet.
But a very, very intense scene. We see 3 men go down, and Martha stands by protocol, not going to negotiate with terrorists. And then Farah comes up, and Haqqani makes it a little extra personal by picking her up. She's a woman. She's a Muslim.
With a knife.
Putting her up against the camera so that they could see that this one's a woman.
Why did Lockhart choose that moment with her?
That's an interesting thought, because I don't think he really had a relationship with Farah like Carrie or Saul or anybody.
So
or
why
Quinn.
why was that moment the one that flipped? He flipped out. That was it. No way, this isn't happening.
I think it was just because he's a woman. As simple as that. This is a woman, and it was a close personal one, and this is one that he put a close up to the camera, and
it was going to be a more brutal execution also.
Brutal. Yeah, he even said he's gonna cut her head off in front of us.
Yeah.
That was look, I think I kind of knew this. I'm guessing you guys did too. If Lockhart opened that door, everyone was going to be dead. He wasn't going to, even though Haqqani was saying, even though Haqqani said, all we want is the files and no one else has to die. Everyone knew that was a lie. So again, Lockhart to me, I don't know. Maybe I just don't like him, or I'm not supposed to. I don't think, but damned if you do, damned if you don't. I see him hiding in the vault, and I think he's a coward. And then all of a sudden, he stands up for Farah, but you know that he's probably going to die, and everyone's going to die in that room if he does what he does.
Here's my thing with that, though: is first off, I don't think a CIA director would ever go to Pakistan and try to personally negotiate with someone.
Yeah.
Let alone open the door and try to negotiate with terrorists. That's the number one thing. You don't negotiate with terrorists.
And throw your commander, ambassador to the floor.
Yeah.
In front of her husband.
Oh my God. Yeah. He's in front of her traitor's husband. Whatever.
Still.
And of course, he's not going to protect her because he's a pussy. But he's not even going to say, "Hey, don't push my wife around like that."
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think this is a very odd position for
I'm sorry.
a CIA director.
If I'm in the room, I'm trying to figure out what I have no idea, and I will never know probably what that feels like. But he throws her to the floor. If I'm in the room, I'm at least trying to negotiate with him.
Yeah.
There were so many other people in the room, and it was the only people that talked were Martha and Lockhart.
Yeah.
Nobody else even talked.
Well, here's a question, and this is, excuse my ignorance. This is why I'm asking this question, because I'm ignorant. If this was let's say this was a situation, let's try and put this in perspective.
Okay.
If this was the president of the United States
And
in that room,
he's Lockhart.
and he's Lockhart, and it's the president of the United States, I would assume that rather than him trying to open the door to hand the files,
You would volunteer.
Secret Service would be jumping on top of him, going, "No, sir, you can't do that. That's you're putting yourself at direct risk."
And also, as a CIA agent, don't you kind of sign your life away in the sense that you're willing to die for your country?
You do, but I would imagine the director gets that same kind of protection. He isn't going to make a stupid move like that.
That's what I'm saying. So he shouldn't have opened the door because, I mean, as harsh as it is,
all those people working for the CIA know that this is a risk they have to take.
Right.
And you're protecting the greater good, which is all of these assets in the Middle East, in the region.
And the higher-ups.
Everything. Oh. So, again, Lockhart, I think this just shows... I mean, this has been always a trend with Lockhart from last season. I think he was a politician who ended up getting the job over Saul because, they complained enough and they put him in, but he was not a CIA. He never was a CIA guy. He wasn't a guy from the field who moved his way up like Saul, for example, or people before him. He was a politician who was awarded the position, and I think that's why it always shows when he does things that he thinks, he's using bravado or whatever.
Right.
He does things very uncouth, and it usually causes more problems than it creates.
Good word.
Yeah.
Very uncouth.
Uncouth in there. Yeah.
Vocab word of the day.
There we go. Vocab word of the day. So anyway, we get to see Lockhart come out. And again, even opening the door, they had to put I guess there's a countdown usually on those types of vaults, or else they wouldn't create that.
It's for drama. It's only for suspense.
I know, they had an extra minute.
Coming out in 1 minute. 52 seconds. I thought that as soon as he handed over the file, they were going to shoot him. They were going to light him up. I thought that was going to happen. I didn't think Farah was going to die. Exactly the opposite. And they stabbed her in the back. Haqqani stabbed her in the back. I think he will get justice for that.
Well, that's what we're hoping. We're hoping
I think Quinn is gonna.
I think via frickin' Quinn.
Yeah.
Quinn's about to go Jason Bourne, by the way.
Quinn is rogue.
No, Quinn is awesomely rogue. I mean, look, he was kicking ass with that one Marine down in the bowels, getting up there. In fact, if anything, he just held his ground a little too long.
That was like a Call of Duty scene when he's jogging through and the blast goes off and he goes to the side, back up. It was like he was a robot in that moment. And I'm pissed that they got blocked off because I really wanted to see Quinn and that one Marine just go solo out there right then and there and follow him.
Yeah, same thing. I was totally pissed off.
That was smart on the other guy, on the bad guys. Behalf though.
No, that was. I mean, of course, they had this whole thing planned out. I mean, everyone in the embassy was caught by surprise by this whole thing. They had it all planned out. I mean, one thing that I kind of like to see, at least, I like to see Max kill the last gunman in the hallway that was left behind. From behind.
Yeah, that was
when
cool.
They were all
awesome.
when they were all still
so awesome when he killed that guy.
So great.
Well, because here we are wanting to see Quinn chase Haqqani, and Haqqani's going off with the bum arm, which looked cool, and those two gunmen left behind to keep them at bay, and then Max just kills the guy from behind. I kind of rooted for that.
That was awesome, and
I think he wanted to just because of what happened to Farah. You could see that in his eyes.
And then the one time this season that I've been closest to being emotional and having seasonal allergies was that moment when they come back and Farah's laying in Max's lap.
Yeah.
Oh, so sad.
Talk about tugging at your heartstrings. When he looks up, that got me.
I was busy.
That got me so hard.
I was looking at him, and I was looking at Farah, just hoping that she was breathing, just like still thinking like.
But when he like
you're gonna
looks
see her
up,
chest,
chance.
you're gonna see her chest like heave or something. You're gonna see her
but
breathe.
like when he
You can see
looks
the
up
heart
and then he
break.
slowly puts his chin back on her head and looks down. Oh my gosh.
So sad.
I feel like it's a shame.
I feel like we needed a silent count on 24 at this moment. Like it needed to go to commercial with a silent count.
That would have been silent count worthy. That would have been. But really, really sad about Farah. I mean, she wasn't in that many episodes, but I think she was definitely a favorite.
Yep.
She was a very likable character. We definitely didn't see enough of her. Again, like I said, people were really looking forward to her return this week. But if I knew it was going to result in her death, I would have rather.
Return,
I would have rather she stayed away from the episode for a little longer. And really touching when we see Carrie and Max talking a little bit later on.
Is it touching or is it? I think it's more revealing.
I was so proud of Max for calling her out.
Yeah, I thought
Really?
that I was really that really got me. Max was like, you could have been nicer to her.
But in a post-death reflective state, that's not the angle I'm taking right away. 2 weeks later, sure. Not the same day after Carrie's got blood on her forehead still. You should have been nicer. I'd be like, it's it's gonna be okay. I don't know.
Well,
I'm
I
a little
think-
more of a consoling
I think
soul.
you're dealing with two people who are in shock, and I think I get it. If one person's in shock and then you become a jerk, it kind of brings stuff up. But I think Max was pretty much. I mean, he saw
Carrie
Farah die in front
handled
of her.
it. Carrie handled it like a boss, though. She was like, you're right, and I wish I had too.
Yeah.
And she handled it really well.
I
Because
thought-
I wouldn't handle that well.
I thought that was really touching.
Last time I want to hear somebody at that moment be like, you should have been nicer. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
If I'm already in shock, that might be the little switch that just sets me off. You know what I mean?
I think so, but I think they're just all in mourning and they're all in shock, and I think
He's a pretty dark guy, anyways. We haven't really
He is.
seen a lot. This is the most I think we've seen of his
heard
personality
him
and his
talk.
heart.
I think though, he never really goes against Carrie, and Carrie seems to. I mean, look, Carrie hired him and Farah to do, to do her dirty work when she first got there, to kind of do stuff on the slide. So she trusts him, and I think she trusts his judgment.
Yep.
And he never really goes against her like Quinn for whatever reason, So I think she trusts him. So I think when he says something like that, even I get what you're saying. Yeah, she just went through a traumatic experience, but so is he, and I think they can speak to each other in that way. If it was Quinn, maybe not the same, but it was Max, and I think there's a different relationship there with the two of them.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, absolutely. So anyway, so we see two major deaths. I'd say this episode in Redmond and Farah. Haqqani is injured and he escapes.
Was he shot in the shoulder?
I guess the shoulder, because
I
the way he
didn't
was
catch
holding
the
his arm.
His arm was limp.
Yeah.
Yeah, his arm was limp, so
He
maybe it was
leaning.
his shoulder.
Looked like a shoulder, maybe like
Bicep.
bicep, tricep. I think I'm gonna go shoulder.
But here's the perfect example of what you were saying about the Max Carrie conversation with two other people. Quinn. It starts in debriefing, I guess, Saul, but it's really more like an interrogation, as Carrie says, and he's pretty much yelling at Saul. Saul can't remember a thing. And
But I think that was necessary because Saul needed somebody to be in his face to wake him up.
perhaps, but Saul didn't remember a thing. He didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I'm saying. But
The thing is, Saul's capable of doing that. I think he was in such shock and such on a downward spiral that he wasn't going to retrieve any of that.
well, Saul even says later to Carrie, he says, "I'm old," and he takes responsibility for what happened.
What was the line he said? My life, something about value and my life. Something about like I haven't provided enough value, or I'm trying to remember how he worded it.
I can't remember. Look it up. I wrote down that he was old, and then he said something after that, and I didn't
Something
catch
about
it.
my life hasn't had enough worth, or it was something that meant that basically he was saying I haven't had enough worth to my life, and she was trying to remind him that this was Haqqani's plan all along. It didn't spiral out of control.
Well, yeah, he says I'm old, and he says people are dead because of it. Maybe I'm losing value. People are dead because of it.
Yeah.
And then that's when Carrie tells him it was Haqqani's plan all along. He wasn't even supposed to be part of the plan.
That's why they killed
He's
Sandy
part of a
Bachman in the
bigger
street.
scheme.
Yeah.
Part of a bigger scene, exactly. And so pretty much the aftermath from this whole thing. I mean, you're obviously you're seeing this, and you want to root for Carrie, you want to root for Saul and Quinn. You know Quinn's pissed off. Meanwhile, Lockhart gets a call, although Martha handles it because Lockhart's a pussy and asks Martha to handle it. And the calls from the White House saying that they're going to suspend all diplomatic ties with Pakistan and they're evacuating.
Yep.
Carrie, of course, wants to stay. Lockhart says no, she's on the first plane. He actually says the president doesn't trust her. He's not comfortable with her handling anything in this region anymore. Everything's
about
being
a
handled.
blow.
Yeah. So
She hasn't even cleaned the blood off her hands yet at this point. She's wiping
I don't even
her
think she
eyeballs.
showered.
No. Well, she hasn't even washed her hands.
Yeah.
She's wiping her face like this, and you can see the blood on her hands. It's getting all over her eyeballs.
yeah. So I mean, Carrie's obviously, she wants revenge. Everyone, I think, pretty much wants revenge for whatever reasons, whether it's Farah, whether it's everything else. And, she's being ordered to go, and she sounds like she's going to go home. So at that point, at least, she's
I'm surprised
like, okay.
she easily agreed with the White House. Because even Quinn said something, and she goes, no, for once they're right. And that's not something you often see out of Carrie. But the reason obviously they set that up was so Quinn could be the rogue one this time.
If this was Brody, she would have stayed. She would have said, screw you, I'm staying. She would have been the one going rogue
She
if it was
backed
Brody.
down finally, and you don't see that a lot out of Carrie.
I feel like she saw so much death happen in one situation right in front of her eyes that
Yeah.
she was just kind of in agreement on this, though.
Let me ask you guys this. The 13 hours in Islamabad, did we see all 13? Remember the one point?
This isn't 24.
Yeah, I have no idea.
No, the reason I'm asking is because
Miniseries.
the 4 hours later part that we saw wasn't relative to anything yet.
Yeah, but then don't forget we saw the evening stretch into the morning to 6:30 in the morning. So if you think 6:30 in the morning and you take
Yeah, I guess
13
that's
hours
true.
back,
That's
it's
true.
it's probably 13. Yeah, because that's when everyone was leaving at 6:30.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, because we saw stuff in the morning.
I just want to know if there was something relative to 13. You know what I mean?
I think it was
Unlucky.
exactly 13. Probably. Well, maybe that too. Unlucky. That might
Yeah,
be
but I
good.
want to know if there was a bigger something to it. It was setting us up to understand something else, or if it was just a clever title.
I think it was just a clever title. Everything in the episode
Yeah.
happens within 13
I
hours.
read
but
a
I
lot
like
of the details.
But I like 13 being an unlucky number because obviously this was a very unlucky episode
Or
for
a lucky
everybody there.
number for some people.
Or for not for Carrie, not for Farah.
Not for fair.
Not for Farah,
Not for
poor girl.
Redmond. You know what? Hey, before we continue, let's talk a little bit about iTunes because we're on iTunes. And if you are subscribed to us, thank you very much.
Give
We'd
us
love
13
it.
stars.
We'd love it if you can give us 13 stars because it would be lucky for us if you did. It would be
would be
really
great.
it would be amazing if you did because I don't think you're allowed to give 13 stars. Just have you and another friend give 5 stars and the third person give 3. I don't know. Work out the arithmetic. Anyway, guys, look, we love to read your comments on YouTube and on iTunes. On iTunes, if you give us 5 stars, it really helps us out in trying to get people on the show. It helps the whole network out. We have over 80 shows here. Besides Homeland, we do cover a multitude of shows. So we'd love to hear from you guys, and we'd love to just keep doing great shows for you and get cast members and producers and whatever else. And as far as YouTube, I have comments open here. So I just want to say shout outs to people who wrote into us last show.
Read off their screen names.
Dennis Boyd.
Yes.
So I wonder why he calls himself that. I hope you're not like the character.
Maybe it's him.
Roseanne Ye. I'm saying your name wrong.
I love her.
NLW 2202. Mignon. I'm saying it like it's French. Mignon Johnson.
Filet mignon.
Yes, and Creative
Croissant.
Crunches, Beljour.
Creative?
Another no, not Creative, Creative Crunches.
Oh, Creative Crunches.
And then Beljour, I guess another like French type,
love
Frenchy
that.
name. Helen Rambles On. I don't think you ramble on. Jacob Rar and Awkward Grapefruit.
Yes, that's
And
such.
Thomas Eichner.
That's a
Awkward Grapefruit
great-
wins. I always, every time he reads these off, I always pick my favorite username. I like a lot of these. I like the Beljour one, but Awkward Grapefruit wins it for the night. Well done, Awkward Grapefruit.
Well done, Awkward Grapefruit. Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. I'm gonna regurgitate that somewhere. That's fantastic.
I just love the way you said that. It's just perfect.
Tweet me so I can personally shout you out at Danny Hoyt.
At Danny Hoyt, yeah,
that's
absolutely.
amazing.
And then as far as iTunes, are we getting new ones? I looked recently. I don't think we did. I'm just looking really quick since I have it open. Soprano Ascends wrote something recently, and Drones was the last one. That was a while back.
Drones.
So yeah, please give us some more stars. Let us know how we're doing. If you write us on YouTube, we can actually respond back if you have any constructive
I like to
criticism.
respond back to people on YouTube.
I like to respond back because iTunes we can't respond back.
Yeah.
So
No.
and then
And
YouTube
Twitter,
is fun, though.
I always respond on Twitter. So if you write us
I
on
respond a
Twitter-
lot. Sometimes I respond too much. So there we go. Anyway, so let's talk some more about this. Well, let's talk about Quinn because Quinn. I liked seeing this because really, if you think about the beginning of the season when Quinn was having that meltdown around the second week of the season.
drinking.
Yeah, drinking, the way he
sleeping
got
with
those
the girl.
guys and sleeping with the girl,
girl.
and the way he attacked those guys at the diner for saying negative comments
Yeah,
to his
Jason
girlfriend.
Manager?
mourned him.
Yeah, this is a guy who, when he is like just set loose, when he's unleashed, he can be lethal, and we got to see a
Well,
little
it's
bit
like
of
they
that.
said in the previews. He's an assassin.
Yeah,
But it also shows the power of Carrie in his life because she convinced him to come. And he even says this. He references this
Yeah.
in this episode. He goes, "You were the one that got me into this." And once he commits, he frickin' commits. And something else I want to point out about Quinn. I don't know if you guys noticed this.
What's
in
this?
the preview for next week. Do you see how long his facial hair is? Dude can grow a beard in like a day.
I gotta say, I did not notice that.
God, his facial genes are incredible.
I did not notice that.
Oh my gosh, he's got just a minimal goatee, and then the next day he looks like you, Nando. It's like no shave November over 2 days.
This took me a month.
I did it for the whole month. I just shaved mine off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I looked like you.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty long.
I missed out.
It's on my Instagram.
Oh, okay, I'll have to take a look at that one. Anyway, so Quinn... Well, Quinn's interrogating Saul, trying to find out, like, the phone providers, whatever. We see him go down and
Clever
take photos.
questions. One question that he asked that I really liked, by the way, I want to pause on this. When he said they took him up a flight of stairs, he got Saul to remember that, and he said, how many flights? In that region of the country, most buildings are one level. So I thought this was interesting that he said that, and I thought we were going to see more about it. Think about it. Most buildings are one level, so if you want multiple flights of stairs, you're either in an apartment or you know which building you're in. Yeah. You have a better chance.
I would think in the I don't know. I would think in the city itself, they seem to be what the exteriors that we've seen. I think most of the buildings had at least 2 or 3 levels. But if he's in the outskirts, yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely a good.
Yeah, I thought that was a great question.
A good question if he's up there, because I doubt he'd be in the city. And I think
No,
based on
they
what we
were
saw,
in the
outskirts somewhere in the northwest,
Fada.
in the Fada area.
And I have one more thing to say about this.
Yes, you do.
I think Saul has something in his memory that we don't know yet, that it's going to be a piece of the puzzle. I know this is a
well, that's more of a prediction, but yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, we'll see. I mean, well, it would have to see, because right now we don't know. It looks like he's going back home.
No, I'm not asking you what you think. I'm telling you that's what I think.
I think they need to give.
I'm saying that's
Danny.
what I think.
I think they need to give Saul like 2 hours to collect himself after everything,
Right?
and then he'll be able to get his thoughts together and maybe try to remember some of the stuff that happened.
Well, we'll see. Right now, I think he's really down on himself.
He's literally down on the desk like this, saying,
Yeah.
"I need a break."
he's down. I mean, look, he even said, he's old. He doesn't think he thinks he's kind of past his prime. He let himself get captured. If you look back at that whole thing, he kind of was set up, and I think he put himself in a vulnerable situation and got himself kidnapped by Farah, so and he realizes, at least in some capacity, he's responsible for this, even though it wasn't, he wasn't part of the end game, as Carrie reminded him. He still feels guilty about it.
That moment when him and Carrie hug, and he says, "Be safe." All I could think about was when he was on the ground, when Carrie led him to be captured, and he was screaming out, "F you, Carrie," GDU, Carrie, F you, Carrie, and just the journey their relationship's been on. I can't think. I know this is still on my prediction, but I can't think that there's not going to be a huge moment with Saul still.
I kind of thought Saul was going to end up staying, honestly.
Well, I mean,
He
again,
still
we don't know. He still
That's
might.
true.
We just see him leaving in the caravan with the other people going on the first wave.
Another caravan driving through the city, by the way.
Do you think there's going to be another attack on that caravan?
No.
That's what I'm saying. It's
I don't
another
think so.
caravan.
Lockhart, the ambassador, they're
Everyone.
all in there.
But they're leaving, and that's exactly what they wanted them to do. They wanted them to leave.
Still.
And it's already going to be tense as it is. It's pretty much, I think at this point, they're leaving. The ISI knows that they're leaving. So any further attacks, I think would be... It would be an act of war. It would start a major war.
I mean, the Taliban doesn't care though about.
And the ships are already pulling into region.
Yeah,
their
but Pakistan
relationship.
cares. But Pakistan cares.
Yeah, but those Pakistani soldiers. Remember when Quinn was driving out? He's like, "Yeah, F you too, a-hole."
Yeah, because they're playing the whole, well, we tried to get there in the nick of time, but we didn't. That's the whole thing. That was the whole diplomatic thing. It's like, wait 10 minutes, so we still save face by showing up 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
But it looks like we're still on your side, but we're not on your side. Doing an act like that when they're leaving, and they probably have ISI protection to get to the airport, would be an act of war. I honestly think that would be a major act of war. As it is, they already have the Fifth Fleet going into the Gulf. They're cutting off diplomatic ties. The Pakistanis are going to lose whatever aid they have.
Dicey.
But you don't know those ISI soldiers. You don't know what side they fall on.
Look, you know what? They're not going to get bombed. I mean, I'll save it for predictions if you
Nando's
want.
calling
They're not
it.
going to get bombed.
Yeah.
They're not going to get bombed. They're going home. They got what they wanted in sending the U.S. home right now. And it would just be another, kicking them while they're down already. That was a major act of war.
Square in the balls too.
Why didn't they just kill everybody? They should have had their soldiers go in the embassy when they were there trying to help out and just kill everybody. It's just an act of war. You guys, I think it's way
We don't
too
know.
dangerous. Okay, you don't know. Got it.
We don't know.
I will put money
agree
down.
with Dan.
You think they're going to bomb them on the way out?
I'm not saying
I'm
I
just
think
saying
it. I
I
just
don't-
think it's
yeah.
not as definitive as you think. You're very like, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Like, you don't know.
I say it's not going to happen based on what little we saw from next week's episode. There's no
I feel like a
concentration on
jerk
it.
that I'm smiling like
You're playing.
I want to see it happen. Just
You're
so I can
playing
be right.
major devil's advocate, but I'm telling you.
I just like to think through what possible scenarios of what could happen.
I'm not a politician, but I would think as it is that the Pakistanis are playing the line in the perfect spot where they're getting rid of the U.S. and yet they're okay with the Taliban as well. And if they did that, that would be a major message to the U.S.
Lexie brings up a good point. That's everyone leaving. That's everyone. You knock out major chess pieces.
No, you knock out an ambassador who's getting
And the
called
CIA
back,
the director
director.
of the CIA.
who's useless. I mean,
It doesn't matter if he's
Doesn't
useless
matter.
or not, though. He's still the
To them,
CIA
he's a
director of
chess
the U.S.
Doesn't matter if they don't know that he's useless.
And he'll get replaced.
Still.
And he'll get replaced, and you'll have the full like U.S. Army on top. On
Also,
top
again, though, I have to say the Taliban is not the same thing as Pakistan. It's not like it's not like the Taliban is just going to sit down and be like, oh, okay, they're all leaving. Like, let's just
See ya.
start stitching. They don't just like sit back and relax.
All right, this is a whole like we're like saying, oh, what if this, and we're making a 10-minute conversation out of it. Let's just pass that part. So you can tell me you were right if it happens next week. Okay, I'll give you that. Anyway, let's talk about Quinn. That's what I want to talk about because he's so freaking badass. Here he is sneaking out, saying "f you" to the guys on his way out with one of their local guys there. Their local contacts, and he goes to the market. I guess you said it was the same market. I think that Sandy was in. Or
I thought we were
Carrie.
going to see him go up to the room that Sandy tried to unlock with the key. That the key was changed. I thought we were going to see him go up there and something happened, but he pulls this double back move that was freaking
Insane.
genius to get. What's his name? Farah
Farad.
Farad Ghazi.
Ghazi.
Same guy that we saw organize the whole thing to get Saul in the first place at the airport. And remember when Quinn was so close to finding Saul when they were driving up the mountain and Saul was in the trunk of that car and he was that freaking close, and now he's on his journey back to take care of these same people. I love the symmetry of what you're seeing. It's almost coming full circle.
Farad wasn't there when that happened.
Doesn't matter, but they had captured. He was the one who orchestrated the capture of Saul. He was the one who pulled out of the bathroom. He walks out of the stall.
Mm-hmm.
He helped organize that. So now he's coming back full circle and almost coming back at like a snakehead. In a way, this was like the head, and he's got him now.
Well,
captured. And he's about to torture him, and he's got
was
saws
awesome.
and pliers. Ooh,
That was
I can't wait to
awesome.
see that scene. I hope he cuts off the bottom of the chair, James Bond style.
And that's why I was so freaking. Look, I'm not cutting to the end yet, but I was so pissed off because I felt like I just wanted to see just a little bit more
Just
of
a
that interrogation
smidge more, yes.
and everything else. I mean,
think
we
we
got to see him knock him out, and he fell down face first. But we know there's going to be some
And they
damage
put the
done.
zip ties on him.
Yeah, we know there's going to be some major damage done, but here's Quinn. Beautiful move. I mean, it was so awesome seeing him set fire to. Well, not seeing him set fire to that poor man's Saul, but as a distraction from the other
But
agents.
he paid the guy.
gave
which
him a
I just-
wad of
it
money.
Says,
It
it says
says-
something about his heart. That's why I like Quinn.
Yeah, here it's way too much. You'll need it, and then he sets fire to the place. I thought it was an awesome scene. So
have a prediction.
Quinn's rogue. We're about to get there, but Quinn's rogue, and Carrie's staying behind. She tells Saul that she's staying behind, so Saul knows, and Saul wants her to be safe. But we don't know exactly just because that caravan left. You're right. We don't know. They could get bombed. Who knows? Maybe we'll see Dennis some
Now
more.
he wants to say, "Who knows?"
I know.
I definitely don't think it's going to happen, but I'm willing to add some suspense to this whole thing by saying maybe Dennis will still get some comeuppance. Maybe he stays in Islamabad. Maybe the ambassador, maybe Lockhart, maybe they stay. I have a feeling it's just
Saul.
going to be scenes in
I think it's
Washington.
gonna be Saul.
I think if
We should do
anyone's
predictions.
yeah, let's do predictions. I think we're there. Let's do it.
And now, your Afterbuzz TV predictions.
So just one note before we get into predictions, because there are some people out there who do not want to know what happens in next week's show. They literally tune out right after the credits start rolling. So we accidentally kind of hinted a little bit at what might happen, but we didn't really give anything away, but we're about to possibly right now. So
Earmuffs.
earmuffs, tune out, whatever you need to do, but we're going to talk about
Spoiler alert!
Thank you,
Spoiler
Marissa.
alert.
Shout out to
the
Marissa
closest
for
thing
being
to spoilers.
on it.
So anyway, so let's talk about what we saw and what we think we're going to see. Okay, so we
Lexie
definitely
first.
saw a lot.
Ladies first.
I don't think that they're all gonna make it out of Pakistan. Honestly, I mean, I know we just talked about this, but I really don't think they're going to. It just doesn't seem realistic to me in the plot of this story. Not like realistically.
Do you think they're going to get bombed?
I don't think they're going to get bombed, but I don't
Okay.
think they're all going to make it out of the country.
Okay.
I don't think that Dennis has any relevance staying in Islamabad anymore, but I don't, like you said.
So you don't think they're all going to make it out? So you're saying Dennis isn't going to make it out of Islamabad? Is that what you
No,
just
but
said?
didn't you just say that you don't know if Dennis is going to end up staying in
If we'll,
Islamabad?
no, I don't know if we'll see Dennis again or not. That's what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
You
I
know.
misunderstood what you said.
Yeah, that's what I kind of meant. I mean, Dennis is in custody right now, so the only way we get to see him in Islamabad right now is if there's a bombing and they're all getting sent to like a hospital or whatever it is. Some kind of thing happens. I don't know. So who do you think stays behind? You're saying Saul.
I think Saul stays behind.
Okay, I
I
can
think
agree
Lockhart leaves.
with. And
Or
Lockhart leaves.
attempts to.
I hope he leaves. He's a great actor. I hope he leaves. The character.
Did you confirm how many episodes are in the season?
12.
There's 12.
And this was 10?
This was 10, so there's
Just
two
wanna
more.
make sure. So I think that the next week opens with Quinn interrogating Farah. Tell you that much.
Okay.
I think he gets something out of Farah, and then I think he kills him. That's the last we see of Farah. And that's what sets Quinn off on his mission, because now he gets enough to know where to go, what to search for, what he's looking for. That sets him off. I also think Saul stays behind. I think that there's still a piece of the puzzle that Dennis knows. I told you I think there's a piece of puzzle that Saul knows, but I think Dennis, Martha, Lockhart, somewhere in there's a piece they have that something's going to come together with what Quinn knows, and that's how they're going to capture.
Okay. I definitely agree that Saul is not going anywhere. He's going to stay.
He's going to snap into
He's
it.
going to somehow, I don't know if he's going to snap into it, but he's going to stay. I don't think there's a major piece of the puzzle, but he still wants to redeem, because he feels
gonna
guilty.
provide major value.
He can provide value there
Yeah.
back in Islamabad. I think everyone else goes home. I think that's the last that we've seen really of Dennis, maybe Martha as well. Lockhart, I'm sure we'll see in scenes from Washington for sure. I definitely, this relationship that we see teased about Carrie and Asar is very, very interesting because, again, we talked a little bit about how he's, he can't really, it doesn't seem he has that much power over Tasneem, like she can tell him what to do. So I think he's going to be, I think I heard a scene where it said they're going to order for Quinn's head and my head, or my head. So we're going to see him be on Carrie's side. I think this is where he breaks off, and he gets to be a big risk. So pretty much that wraps up this week's episode of Homeland, 13 hours in Islamabad. Hey guys, during the week, where can we like, if we wanted to talk to you like on social media or something, where can we find you guys?
You can find me on all social media at Lexie Hammesfahr.
You can find me at Danny Hoyt, DANNYHOYT.
Good. And you can
Hooked on phonics, working for me.
Good. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Nandovel, Nandovel. You can also find me on other AfterBuzz shows here like Walking Dead, which returns in February, Blacklist in February, and Scorpion, which returns tomorrow. And you can find us all on different various shows.
Yeah, I'll be at SNL in an hour.
There we go. Various AfterBuzz shows. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in next week for another episode of Homeland. Thanks for tuning in.
I love you, Saul.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Bye. See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.